Alright, how you doing? Grumpy here. So, we're going to try something different. About 30 years ago, I used to own a bread machine. And I would buy a box, and I would dump it in the machine, and I would measure out the water, and I would dump it in the machine, and I'd close it, and I'd push the button. And 2 hours later, I'd have a loaf of bread. I have never considered this baking. It was just a simple way of getting fresh bread. Today I'm actually making it from scratch. You can see the stuff laid out here and stuff. So we're hoping I get this right. So technically what I'm starting with the recipe for challah bread. I was not raised Jewish. I know nothing about it. And I am purposely doing things wrong because I don't want a braided bread. I'm going to be putting it in small little loaf pans here because I want that shape when I'm done. So I'm calling it back girl bread. Because it is by far not proper challah bread. But with that said, I am going to make the attempt here, and we're going to hope I end up with bread and not with bricks. So, wet ingredients first. Good, no shells. No shells. Alright, so there's the 2 eggs. And now we have 3 tablespoons of honey. By the way, I finally figured out why these videos always have all this stuff staged nice and pretty in front of you. It took like an hour and a half to run around this kitchen and find everything and the measuring cups and everything else and set it all up to do this. What a pain in the butt. You don't want to watch that on screen. It's just boring. So I also have 3 tablespoons of olive oil. Now, I find this one interesting. I have a half cup plus 2 tablespoons of water. I've watched and I've read and I've watched and I've read. I can't figure out why the extra 2 tablespoons is in here. It seems like it should be somewhere else in the recipe, but nope, everything says it's supposed to be in there. So it's in there. Now, the only dry ingredient to go in here is 2 teaspoons of active yeast. Now we just get this all stirred up and all nice and pretty. This is complicated stuff, okay? I tend to try to keep things simple, and so I've done a lot of research before I got to this stage in the hopes that I don't make bricks. Because I'm really afraid I'm going to make bricks. Everything I've read and researched about making bread says that it takes months to start learning the tricks and techniques and getting a good, viable bread. This is my very first attempt ever. What do you think are the chances I'm going to get it right? I'm thinking my odds of getting a brick are a lot more plausible than my chances of getting viable bread. But that doesn't mean I'm not going to try. You know, you don't learn anything, you don't advance anything if you don't take the chance. So, chances are being taken. And, you know, I mean, all the ingredients here for this are maybe $5. It costs a lot more than that to buy them because you can't just buy 2 tablespoons of olive oil. Or, you know, 3 cups of flour. By the way, this is general purpose flour. It's not self-rising or anything. Yeah, I couldn't remember which one, so I actually bought both in the grocery store. Again, it costs more to get set up for this, but the actual amount of ingredients you're using is just a couple of bucks. And this kind of bread bought as a loaf would obviously cost a lot more than that. And 3/4 teaspoon of salt. And in my house, we use pink Himalayan. Why? Because I like it. No other real reason. And it says, don't overwork your dough. It says, just take your time and bring it in from the outside into the well. So that's what I'm doing here. And apparently, this takes a long time. So here we go, and we're just, go from the outside in, and eventually this will get mixed. My understanding is this is somewhere between 5 and 10 minutes for this to actually occur. Don't know, never done it before. We're going to find out together. How about that? It seems to, it's still watery, but I can see where it's starting to come together now. And basically, everything I've said, read, and looked at says I start out like this, and eventually my spatula is not going to do a very good job anymore, and I need to get my hands in there and get dirty. Well, okay, and I'll do that in a few minutes here. But, it all is what it is. I'm learning. So, right now I'm just kind of having fun, and we'll see what happens. Okay, I don't see where my spatula is going to do much more here. Doesn't seem to really be doing anything else. And by the way, I'm going to show you here in a second. If you look, my spatula, and I'm going to have to get my hands in here, so my spatula has got discoloration on it. I have made, with this spatula right here alone, hundreds, if not thousands of batches of fudge and brittle and cakes and pies. This is my first attempt ever at, bread. So, again, I hope this works. Ew, yucky. It's kind of like reaching into a meatloaf. It's kind of got that same texture. So, it is what it is, and it's getting there. It's fine. But, yeah, it's definitely sticky. And that's alright. Eventually I'm gonna, it'll get to be less sticky. Look at that. That is definitely sticky. It's definitely also not mixed. Okay, we're getting there, but we are not mixed yet. So, this is supposed to be like this. At least according to what I've seen. So, I don't mind it so much, except that I've never had a meatloaf grab back. This just feels like it's got a hold of me. Like I said, I never have meatloaf grab back. It's kind of funny. See, this is the difference between my video and everybody else's. They've all done it 1,000 times. Me? No. I just have this big old goopy, gloppy mess coming off my hand. And, I think it kind of looks like peanut butter, but don't feel like peanut butter. Even peanut butter's not this sticky. I feel like I need to add a little flour just to make it come together, and it, all the research I've done says I can add a little bit of flour and I won't hurt it. but it says not to add too much. It just use a little bit here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to reach up here. I got some flour. I kept some locally here. And we're going to take this and get it off of my hand. Because really, I'll bet there's a trick to make it not stick to my hand. Maybe I was supposed to put the olive oil all over my hands. That seems like it would be a good plan. But none of the people making bread online that I researched with this said to do that. So maybe that's their own private little joke that they're pulling on me. What do you think? Because really? Wow. I'm glad I had nice clean hands when I started. Look at that, it's stuck all over me again. Once I get enough flour on the outside that it stops sticking to me so much, it'll probably be okay. I feel like I've got it pretty good and mixed. But, wow, this stuff is sticky. Look at that. It's almost impossible to pick up without just, wow. And all I'm trying to do is flour the outside of it. That is crazy. Now I know it says I'm supposed to put a little bit of olive oil in that bowl right there. And you know, I'm playing with it a little bit here. I'm learning. So, you know, if I'm doing it wrong, be nice in your complaints. Because I know there's a lot of people out there with a lot more experience in this than me. And I'm just doing a little bit of kneading here. I don't think I need to do a whole lot at this stage. But it felt like it needed a little bit of it to incorporate it properly and get it mixed well. A little more flour here. Like I said, I don't want to overdo the flour. I know that I shouldn't, so I'm trying to be nice about that. Trying not to use too much because I don't want to make the whole thing just fall apart, which apparently that's what the warning says. If you use too much, it just won't stick to itself and it'll just be ugly and nasty, and I don't want it to be either of those things. But I gotta admit, I can see where everybody says this is a lot of work. But, you know, maybe it's the newbie in me. It's kind of fun too. But it's starting to look like a real dough now. It's starting to feel like a real dough now. And yeah, I'm pulling it together all weird because I wanted to get that incorporated that way. And look at that. That's starting to look, that actually looks like a something now. I'm rather proud of that. But this bowl, I'm getting the feeling I should have incorporated it all here on my mat. And so now I'm gonna say we'll be right back after commercial messages, and we're going to wash that bowl so I'll have a nice clean bowl to put it in and a nice clean hand to put it in with. Alright, so we're back. Clean hands, clean bowl. Now, according to the directions I have found, what I'm supposed to do is put a little bit of olive oil in this bowl, smear it around, and that way it won't stick to the bowl. And then I've got to form this a little more just to tuck it under and put, make it pretty. And then I'm going to put it in there and we're going to let it rest and rise for, I believe it's 30 minutes. I'll have to double check that. But, so here's what I'm going to try. So, a little bit of olive oil in there, but check it out. I'm going to use my hand to smear it around. Right? Then I'm going to get my other hand in there and use it to smear it around. Then I'm going to go like this and get the olive oil all over my hands and see if those bastards didn't give me the rest of the frickin' hint and clue. Because really, I don't understand why this is so sticky on me. And it never wasn't so sticky on anybody else. So I'm thinking they set me up. And, I was in the Marine Corps. People set people up all the time. You know why they do it? Because it's funny. So I don't doubt that they did it. I'm pulling that out. That's a little piece of honey because my honey is old and so it has started to dry. But check it out. Look. And now I got a fairly pretty ball. I think that's what it's supposed to look like. Something like that. And, basically you stretch it from the top and you pull that underneath. And that's how you make a nice pretty ball. Now, everybody else's seemed a lot smoother than mine. I'm not sure if that's because I didn't incorporate it enough or because maybe I've got little different ingredients, the old honey, or, if it's some mistake I'm making that I don't know yet. That's okay. We're going to put this in the bowl here. Now, everybody else just threw a dish towel over it. Okay, well, this bowl comes with a lid. So, there's my dough. Now we're supposed to come back. It's supposed to, double in size. Let's see. So hey, we're back. It's about an hour later, and I haven't opened it yet, but I have greased my plastic here and my hands because I think that's something they didn't tell me and they just got off laughing at the new guy. But it has definitely grown, and so now I'm supposed to punch it down, which I gotta admit, they say don't actually punch it because it didn't do anything to you, so don't beat it up. That's what they say. But, so, they say bring it all in from the four corners back to the center, and then take it out of the ball. And we need to knead it a little bit here. Because this is about building gluten, they say. Apparently, it doesn't just appear in wheat. You kind of got to work it to make it happen. Which, okay, sure. That's what they tell me. I'm going to say okay, and I'm just going to believe it. But they actually have a test for it, too. And we're going to try that because I never tried that before, and we're going to see. But first, so the test is actually, you keep pulling it, and if it breaks like that, it doesn't have enough, it hasn't been worked enough. And they call it the window test, and when you do it enough, that it doesn't tear. It will, but it can get very thin to where light can shine through it. obviously have no oil on that part of my hand. There we go. And so that's what we're looking for here. But so once I get that to occur, then we gotta let this rise again. We'll do it one more time. And then the last time it rises, it actually rises in the pans. So, and we'll see how all that works. Why is it so sticky? Again, I feel like I'm the new guy and they pulled a trick. I'm being hazed here. What's wrong with this? How am I being hazed when it's me doing it all by my lonesome? What's the deal? Somebody's pulling a trick. They didn't tell all the information. And I mean, I watched 5-6 hours of videos online and read, I don't know, 24 recipes. And they all say, oh, it's just easy. You just do like this. Anybody can do it. I've been hearing that a lot for the last several years. Anybody can do it. By people who do it very well, who have a lot of experience in it. They seem to forget that other people don't have those years of experience. Again, it is my first time ever. So, either I'm doing it right or I'm doing it wrong. But I'm doing it. You know, now I understand why everybody just did it on a countertop or a very large breadboard or something. Because this little piece of plastic, it just keeps pulling it up and it's a pain in the butt. But I understand now why they do it straight on the marble or the wood countertop that they've got. It makes sense to me now. Again, things you learn, right? On the idea of things you learn, wooden butcher blocks, cutting boards. I used to be a furniture maker and I made a lot of cutting boards because that's what you do with the extra wood. And, you know, they passed all those laws that you have to have plastic cutting boards and all that stuff now. And then after that, they actually did the scientific studies. Not before, after. And what they found out was that the plastic cutting boards on a microscopic basis would get a small curl and hide bacteria that could then grow. Even though they said there's nothing to grow on, you know, plastic and that's why it's safer, and that was the initial sell. In that cut and under that curl, it did have some food under there that hid, and therefore it had someplace to grow. Whereas the wooden cutting boards, they found out that the wood actually killed the bacteria and things because, lo and behold, the wood used to be a living organism and it still had enzymes in it that were designed to kill those because it was once a living organism. So it turns out the wood was safer, even though modern technology, the plastic is safer, was the argument until after they did the test, which was after they made the laws. This would be corporate money pushing politics where they want it to be, instead of letting nature and scientists do their job. And, you know, it just kind of made me think of it here because I'm sitting here playing with this dough and I'm just doing See, look. It's starting to tear, but look, it got a lot thinner that time. So I'm almost done. Again, I don't know what I'm doing here. I'm just following what I was told. And I'm getting sticky. I'm thinking I need maybe a little more olive oil on my everything here. Let's set this up there and get some more olive oil out here because I'm getting really sticky. I don't want to overdo it. You know, the goal isn't to flood it or make my bread taste like olives. It's just to make it not stick. That's all. See how that, look at that. That just, isn't that beautiful? That just works so much better. I'm telling you, I think they purposely didn't say it. Look at it, it's not sticking to my hands. It's getting smashed out better and, you know, everything else. This is such a simple thing. A little bit of flour or a little bit of olive oil. Either one seems to really do the job really nicely. See, this is why I said you can't actually learn stuff by, say, watching it on TV or watching it on a video and go, oh, I know how to do that. You got to actually get your hands dirty. You got to get in and do it. Because until you actually did it, all you know is the textbook information. You don't actually know anything until you actually do it. I feel like I'm doing, you know, reasonably okay here. It's my first time doing this. I mean, I'm not going to say I'm an expert. And I certainly still don't know if I have bread or a brick. But at least these parts leading up to it, I feel like I'm getting better at. Still need more oil. Let's try that test again. Ah, can you see the light through it? I can see light through it from my side. Just before it tore there, I could see it. Yep, it's getting really close. It's not quite there. But it does make me feel better to know that something I saw is actually happening. I'm getting all sticky. See, keeps being right there. Why does it keep being right there? Like I said, I think I understand now why they were doing it on a cutting board or something else. This plastic is useful, but it's thin and it's light, and therefore it wants to flow and move. Let's try that again now, because I'm going to keep working it until that works. Look at that, I can see light through it, which means I finally got it right. That's where it's supposed to be before I put it in the bowl this time. So I'm rather proud of myself. I'm getting there. Now, and you pull it from the top, and you roll it around, and these guys, they always make this look so easy. They just go, and look, it's done, it's pretty. Yeah. Maybe if I'd done it for 10 years, I could do that too. But you know what? I think I've done it for all of 10 minutes today, and I don't quite have that level of experience yet. But what I do know is there is still oil in here. I'll make sure it's all smeared around good again. And yeah. They say the olive oil on the dough is not just to make it not stick. It's also to kind of seal it and not let the moisture out, so your dough doesn't dry out. But you know what? It's a whole lot easier to work when it's not sticking to you too. So, and I think that's kind of what I'm looking for right there. And that goes in there. And it goes for another 20 minutes. So here we are on we're getting ready to do the last proofing, which is done in the pans. Now, that said, there's a lot that needs to go on here, and I'll kind of walk through this as we go. So I gotta bring this over here, and I've got to punch that down. But first, I have a scale here, and we're gonna do what's called a reverse tare. And what that means is we're going to do some math. Okay, so currently it's tared at 0, 0. That's fine. Now, 17, 13. Now, hold on. Push this down a little bit. Fold it in and all this good stuff, just like we did before. I'm told I don't do anything new here. Same thing. Okay, now I throw this over here. Now, 17, 13 minus 890.
823.
823. Okay, that's how much one loaf is going to weigh. So, now, I have to spread this, do this all over again. It feels much better this time. I mean, aside from the fact that, hey, I finally have olive oil on here and, it's not sticking to me. Its texture feels better. It definitely feels different. And I've seen it talk about that, but I've never experienced it, so how would I know? So, okay, here we go. Now, take my knife here. And these should be something close to that. What was that number?
8.23.
Okay. Dumb thing turns off too fast. So I've got 213, 209, 218, 186. So 195, 204, 211. 211, 201, 202, that's 204, 206, that's 211, 203, it's 207, 207. Okay, they're all about the same size now. So Now what I got to do is each one of these individually, okay? And then I take them and I fold them all in and I get them into the balls like this, right? Roll it out a little bit. And I'm putting it into my pre-greased pan. Would have worked better had I not been a fumble finger. That was not the fault of the dough or anything. That was me. Okay, so that one was pre-greased. This one I had the drippings of that one in, so I'm able to pre-grease this one now. And again, we're going to do the same thing. Just give it a little bit of a stretch, get it back, thinking it's working again. And then we're going to fold it in on itself. And look, it's actually gotten a lot smoother on the top. It's a lot prettier now. Looks more like they did in the other videos. Okay, now I'm going to make that into a slug and put that in there. And see, that fits rather nicely. You know, that's where it's going to proof the last time. Now see, I poured a little bit too much in here. I know I did. It's okay. This is something I know from baking in general. It doesn't have to be the perfect amount for this. Because look, I'm doing another one. So I can pour it off into there. Ain't that magic? And nothing wasted. We're going to do this again just a few times. And again, it feels much better than it did before. So I am noticing a big difference here. And by the way, I have also greased this and my hands before we started today on this one because, well, we saw where I started and everything stuck to me. So I learned that lesson. Enough of their hijinks not telling the secret on that one. I guess it was easy enough to learn, but really they could have told me in the first place. Isn't that why you watch these videos, is to learn something and or to laugh at me? And see, again, we're back to, you know, reasonably good sized here. You know, I'm not saying it's perfect. I'm not saying I'm perfect. You know, we're working on it here. You know, work with me. The goal is hopefully just to end up with 4 little loaves of bread that don't come out as bricks. Now, so we're fair on this, everything I've said, or everything I've read and looked at, says once the bread comes out of the oven, don't cut it immediately. Let it cool down. If you cut it immediately, it'll have all kinds of problems, and it'll tear, and it'll rip, and it'll look ugly. So we're going to wait after it comes out of the oven. Even though everybody knows about hot, fresh bread from the oven, we're going to wait. Because I'm trying to give myself my best opportunity of success here. Now, I tell you, if you've ever been to the ocean and you've picked up a sea slug out of the tidal pools, that's what this feels like. It really has the same texture. A little bit sticky, a little bit slimy, a little bit squishy, kind of heavy. Yeah, they're kind of gross. So, oh, I forgot to spread my oil around on this one. That's okay. You see, I just threw that. It won't go anywhere. It won't fall, I promise. And there we go. Now we have 4 loaves in pans. And they're going to sit there for 20 minutes. Okay. And then we're going to put them in the oven. So, now, final steps. They're important stuff. Okay, so one of the things we're going to do is, I've been seeing this on a lot of videos, is look, they poke it and it comes back out. And that says that I didn't break any bubbles interior, so I didn't deflate it, punch it down, things like that. And that means it's risen well, and that it means it's also not Play-Doh inside. It has some structure in there, it has some gluten. So right now I have a good dough, and now it's up to me to bake it correctly, I think. I think that's what that means. Now, so what we're gonna do, I'm only gonna cut one, quite honestly, because I'm a chicken shit and I don't know if it'll work right or not. But, so we're gonna cut one. And you see I cut that open there. And they tell you, you only get one shot at that because it's going in the oven right now. And if you do it right, well, then you did it right. If you did it wrong, well, everybody will know. So, my egg wash going on. My oven, by the way, is already preheated. I even preheated this pan because if you'll notice, this countertop is, I don't know, some kind of stone, something like some kind of a marble. And it's a heat sink. And so I think that has retarded the ability of this stuff to rise. So, you know, again, we're going to see what happens. I might make 4 bricks. I might make a loaf of bread. I don't know. But I've never done it before, and we're going to find out. And now we have egg wash on everything. And I'm going to put these on here, like that. And like I said, I preheated this sucker. By the way, Miss M&M, woo! And I preheated the pan, so I have to actually use the glove to carry the cookie sheet because the cookie sheet's about 350 degrees. So, and that goes in for 20 minutes or until golden brown. We're getting ready to pull the bread out of the oven. It's been in for 23 minutes now. And I have some kind of Kermit thing on this hand. And green M&M on this hand. We're getting ready to have a party. So. Ooh, nothing like oven blast in the face. But I think that worked. Now. I have splitting down the side. I don't think you can see it from that side. Let me spin this around. And that pan is hot. So that splitting right there, I don't remember what it means. But it means that it rose a little bit too much in here. And I was told you put the butter on and it helps the crust stay softer. It helps your butter not dry out. Not your butter, your bread not dry out. So we're going to try it because that's what research said to do. And if you're not going to pay attention to your research, then why are you doing it? Right? Now this is the one that I cut, and I'll be honest, it doesn't look like I cut it deep enough. I'm going to have to double check what that means over there. But anyway, you look at it, my bread's pretty. I just hope it's edible. We will find out after the bread cools. Alright, people, so there's my bread. Hopefully. We're going to try it now. So we're just going to try one. I'm going to set these off to the side. It's been an hour since we pulled it out of the oven. So it should all be good, right? It says here. Everybody else had to cut around the sides, so whether I do or not, I'm going to. Okay, well, so far, it still looks like bread. Now, here's the thing. That is an actual bread knife. That's an actual loaf of bread. And people do this wrong. Forever they do this wrong. You do not need to death grip the loaf of bread. You do not need to squash it. And you do not need to push this through like it's a guillotine. it has serrates on it for a reason. Watch. You take it and you very nicely slide it back and forth. And look at that. That's cutting really nicely. Okay, and yes, I'm cutting it really thin because the entire purpose of doing this was to be able to put jam and butter on it. And I don't want a really thick slice of bread for that. I want a really thin slice of bread for that because I think it looks really yummy so far. And by the way, this is the one that I cut the top. So whether that helped or not, I don't know. But check it out. All those little bitty, they're small. Dude, I don't have any big holes in it, which is like awesome. I forgot to thaw my butter, but look at that. My bread's actually taken some abuse from butter that's not room temperature. This is straight out of the refrigerator because I forgot. But okay, so now just butter. I'm kind of worried about it, to be honest. That's really yummy. My crust is not too hard. That was a big concern I was worried about. And look, it didn't break or tear apart or nothing. I mean, it's not like I cut thick slices, okay? That's pretty yummy. But I got something a little extra special too. My daughter might be pissed about this, but tough. Last 2 days, 3 days. Okay, sorry. Today is Saturday. Since last Tuesday, my daughter has been dominating the kitchen, making all kinds of stuff. But one of those, for that entire time, was apple butter, homemade from scratch. And I have some right here. I'm going to steal it. And I'm going to see how it is on my bread. I haven't even tried the apple butter yet, but I've had her apple butter in the past and used the same recipe myself. It's pretty good. I'm going to call my bread a success. It's not a brick. It tastes good with butter, and it tastes good with butter and jam. More people did this, less people would be getting in trouble. And America would be even fatter. So, any rate, be good to each other.